Turnkey with Morgan Francis, sponsored by Integrity Roofing.
Welcome into Turnkey on Queen City News Plus, your go-to show for everything real estate in the Carolinas. We dive into the latest market trends, do's and don'ts of the industry, and provide expert advice on navigating this dynamic landscape that we call home. I am your host, Morgan Francis, and today we're going to talk about lot lines and the way that they're defined, which is surveys. It is a crucial tool for homeowners and buyers and can help you avoid a real headache and potential legal issues down the line, which we know no one wants to deal with that. Today, we are joined by Robin Palmer and Billy Allen with Don Allen Survey. Guys, thank you so much for coming on Turnkey.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Let's dive right into the topic. What exactly is a survey? How do you define that?
Mainly is if you're purchasing a property, you want to know where your property corners are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be the rebars down, usually flush with the ground, marking what you own or what you're purchasing. If you want to put a fence up, you need to know where the property lines are. You know, we can mark those from the corners. Verify the house is good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it's farm land. It could be acreage, wanting to subdivide or just purchasing acreage. You have Lake Norman, you have lake issues that you got to worry about, pier zones, pier projection lines. It's to me, it's a must when you buy. You know, most people they always get a home inspection, but they
Right.
don't always get a survey.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know if it's misleading from realtors or attorneys or, you know, obviously it saves them money not getting.
I was just going to say, I think I know what it is, because when you're buying a house, you're saving for the down payment.
Yeah.
You have closing costs. You're paying for the survey. You're paying for the appraisal. It adds up. And then it's like, then the survey. And I'm like, wow,
but
really need it?
not getting a survey also affects part of your title insurance.
They won't insure if you have a survey issue,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2 years later, and you opted out of not getting a survey, the title company will not insure it. So you're out of your own pocket. Whatever the issue is, it could be the house over the setback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be major stuff, or
Mhm.
it could just be a fence violation, but you got to move the fence. Could be thousands of dollars that you could have had to sell or move
Mm-hmm.
prior to you purchasing the house. To me, it's probably as important or more important than home inspection. I mean, if you have some damage in a home, you can repair it, but if your home is not in the right location.
What if the home is across the line? I'm sure you've run into that.
Yeah.
That the actual home is across the property line. What does someone do? What do you guys recommend?
I mean, the only option you have is go to the neighbor
So
and try to buy the lot or buy a portion of their lot.
If the county lets you.
Yeah, and then you got to meet zoning requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a nightmare for a buyer.
So how do you guys go about conducting a survey? You know, we showed at the top of the show some of these, you know, stock footage that we've got of people doing surveys. But you mentioned that there are markers, but I haven't always been able to find those. Actually, right before we did this show, I looked like a crazy person out by the road because I was like, I'd like to show one of the property markers, and I couldn't find one that we could show.
It all starts basically in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get the order, the office staff, which, you know, like Robin's in charge of all the field crews, we research all the deeds, we research the plats, and we put all that in the computer.
When you research the deed, what are you looking for?
We're looking for what they own or what we're surveying and make sure it matches the neighbor's property. There could be overlaps. So we're doing a lot. We're probably spending 2 hours in the office prior to even the field guys' feet hitting the ground. And we download that information into their instruments. So once they find corners, they can get themselves oriented to the property and turn to any property corner.
And Robin, maybe you could tackle this one. Is there ground penetrating radar that you pick up on those rebars that you were talking about?
So it's usually just a metal detector. Most corners are going to be metal rebar, iron pipes, things like that. So we go out there, but not not every piece of metal in the ground is a property corner, which is
Wait,
one
wait.
of the big issues.
Can we derail for a second? Have you found like coins or rings or anything?
I haven't found any treasure yet. No, I've
You wouldn't be able to keep it anyway.
I found a lot of crowbars though. There's a lot of junk
Okay,
out there, but
interesting.
yeah. So we use a metal detector mainly, but sometimes there's concrete monuments that mark it.
Okay.
The older the deed is, North Carolina is a colony state, so we have stuff dating back to when, like the 1700s sometimes,
Mhm.
and a lot of those call for trees, rows of bushes, things like that, and you have to navigate through that. So it's not always, just walking up to your corner and finding it. That's where the deed research comes in. A lot of times, it tells you what you should be looking for, so you're not going out completely blind.
Are you always looking for the orange or yellow flag on the property line? If I'm a buyer and I'm out there and I'm thinking about purchasing a home and I see the little orange flag on the stick, does that automatically mean that's where the property line is?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Normally they'll write on the stake what it's marking. So sometimes you'll see stakes that have a control written on them, which don't necessarily mean that it's your property corner, but more so like where if you're working on a bigger project and you have to come back, you could mark your control so that things don't get disturbed, so that you can maintain everything within reason while traversing around the lot. But for the most part, if you go to a residential neighborhood, you see a flagged up stake that says property corner, I would hope that they, actually ran the survey accurately and found the corner, set the corner.
Well, and that brings me to my next question. Billy, have you ever come into an instance where the marker that is underground has been moved?
Oh, yes. And that's usually a line dispute with the neighbors.
That seems like it would take a lot of work.
So what we normally do is when we survey the lot we're surveying, we actually usually go get the adjoining properties corners too, to make sure everybody's got what they're supposed to have. And if we start seeing some conflict in corners, then we find out, where it's at and remark them. We'll replace those markers that are in error.
Are there any potential legal repercussions if someone does move that they could get in trouble with the law?
Yes, that is against the law to mess with property corners. It's a federal law, actually.
Okay. So you're looking at a felony then.
Yeah.
I don't know who would police it, but
Yeah,
Well,
that is the one thing.
That's the thing is anytime, you have an issue like that, it's like it takes someone to complain, go to court and all that stuff, which at the end of the day, you just
Proof
don't want
that
to deal
someone
with.
moved it as well.
Right.
That it wasn't there originally, so.
Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting. Well, I would like to dive into an actual survey that you guys have provided us, but we have to take a quick commercial break. So we're going to take a look at a survey when we come back, and we're going to talk about the potential issues that could arise if you don't have the correct property line. So more Turnkey after this quick break. Welcome back to Turnkey on Queen City News Plus. We are joined by Robin Palmer and Billy Allen with Don Allen's survey. We've been talking about the importance of a survey, what it is, and some of the issues that can arise when you don't have a survey done and you find that there might be a problem with the property line. Billy, I have a survey that's pulled up right now. This is one that you've actually done. We're not going to say where it is, but it's in the Charlotte area, and there are some issues with this specific survey. I want to pull it up and would love to hear you kind of discuss. First of all, there's a lot going on the screen. What does someone need to know when they're looking at a survey, and what's the issue with this specific survey?
So in this survey, obviously the two owners were disputing the property line.
Mm-hmm.
We were hired by one of the owners. And then, like I was saying earlier, we put all the deed research in, check both joining properties, and create a map. But on this one, what we have discovered that there's actually a gap between the two property owners.
Okay, so kind of middle of your screen, kind of to the right of the survey, you can see possible gap written in there. So what did you find out? Clearly someone must own this property, right?
Through time, I mean, it's probably when this was originally maybe a big farm at one time, and then when all these pieces got subdivided out, between surveys and someone made an error and created this gap. So what these two property owners have to eventually do is agree on some property line, usually splitting it or something. We would map whatever they agree on, and then they'd get an attorney to record it, and hopefully put that dispute to bed.
So why did they hire you? Was it specifically about this gap? And how big is the gap we're talking about?
They were disputing about the line, but this one also had disputing about the road access out
Okay.
at front.
So the gap had nothing to do with
Initial
okay.
order.
Okay.
They were actually disputing over one owner's wanting to close the road down and the other owner's wanting to keep the road open. So they're fighting on how they get to the property.
Okay.
And then this was also discovered, so they've got to figure out a solution for this too. Again, if these people would have had current surveys,
Mm-hmm.
probably when they purchased the property, all of this would have been resolved,
Mm-hmm.
prior to, and hopefully they could have got along better. Now this is
Every
going
time
on
you
for
see the
years.
person, then it's like, oh, that guy.
Yeah. So
You
it's-
know? So, this is I don't think I've ever seen like a gap like this. Does this happen frequently?
quite a bit in North Carolina. We're a meets and bounds state. So a lot of
Educate
meets
me.
and bounds,
Meets
like
and
you were
bounds.
saying, from
Okay.
the type of measurements back 100 years ago
Mm-hmm.
is not near as accurate as today. So
Mm-hmm.
it just depends on how long a piece of property's gone without being surveyed. You get these old towns like Mooresville and Charlotte's old too. Some of these properties haven't been surveyed in 100 years. So, I mean, the technology's
Surprise! So some of the issues that I feel like people deal with more are fences, trees, or a driveway that might encroach on the other person's property. How is that handled? And I know we're kind of getting a little away from what you guys do day in and day out. You're not attorneys, correct?
Not.
So you're not dealing with that side of things. But how do people deal with maybe a tree that was planted on one side and grew onto the other? How does that all shake
We
out?
normally, and most of those arrive from a storm, like damage on a tree.
Mm-hmm.
If they're trying to figure out who's paying for what,
Oh, okay.
insurance companies might request a survey to show where the tree's located. We'll actually locate the tree and put it on a map, and then they usually decide on how they're paying for it. It's not our decision, but we'll show the tree so they could tell which owner is responsible for the tree. Fences, again, if you order a survey at the beginning stages, we show the fence encroaching. You can go back to the seller to resolve the problem. And then once they fix it, we usually remap it, showing that it's good for the title company.
And we could be talking half a foot.
It
And just,
could be
but that's the thing is
10 feet.
when someone's spending a lot of money on a home and a piece of property, that 10 feet, 1 foot,
1
you
inch.
just, it matters. It does matter because if you let it slide, then what's to say something else won't slide down the line?
Yeah.
So, and what you mentioned earlier was that, tearing down a fence and replacing it, that's not cheap.
Well, following up on the fence thing too, if you get your survey before you move in, you see that this neighbor's fence is encroaching and you can get that resolved before you move in, then it won't be a problem down the road for you. Same as the house that you're buying, that property's fence is actually encroaching on the neighbor. If you don't get a survey and then later you go to sell and they get a survey and your fence is over, now it's your problem. Now you have to move that fence for the new
Because you
buyer.
knew about it.
Yeah, well, or if you didn't get a survey and you didn't know about it, you would still have to move it because it's your fence on someone else's property, the property that you bought. So that's where it comes into just peace of mind, I guess you would say, for you buying a house. You know that everything's in accordance so that when you do go to sell, you're not going to run into a million problems.
What about a new build? Because I think there's this misconception, at least on the inspection side, that brand new house. What could be wrong with it? But I would also think that if there could be electrical issues or, issues with the inspection on a new home, that there could also be issues with the survey, that builders make mistakes too. Have
Yeah.
you ever run into that?
Yeah, so recently, just probably within the past 6 months, we did a new construction, and the house was over the front setback about 15 feet.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And then so we eventually I went back and checked with the county, and the builder actually pulled off the pavement instead of pulling off. The builder staked his own house, and he pulled off the pavement instead of the road right away. So there's about 15 feet difference between the two.
Okay.
And they actually closed on the house without a survey, the new buyers. Just like you said, it's a new house, what could be no issues. So this issue came up like 8 months later for the people living there. So they had to go pay $600 to go for a variance with the county. And they got the variance.
Well, and that's not always a guarantee.
Yeah,
either.
absolutely not. But the builder did pay for that. But again, that could have been settled
Mm-hmm.
way prior to, don't just assume. And these tract builders are the same way, but they're doing house after house after house. There's going to be mistakes made
Mm-hmm.
when you're putting up 200 houses. And
Yeah. Billy, you hinted at this, kind of going back to the county to get a variance. I want to dive into what it's like to deal with the county when it comes to, subdividing lots and all that, but we have to take a quick commercial break. We're going to tackle that when we come back. More Turnkey after this. Welcome back to Turnkey on Queen City News Plus. Today we've been discussing surveys and the importance of them. We are joined by Robin Palmer and Billy Allen with Don Allen Survey. Charlotte's changing. I think that goes without saying, but a lot of the lots are getting smaller. You see larger lots getting subdivided. What does that process look like when it comes to dealing with the county, and how much time should someone count on in terms of how long it will take to get something like that approved, Robin?
So for Mecklenburg specifically, after the survey is performed, after we talk, me with the client about how they want it subdivided, I have to dive into Charlotte's UDO, Unified Development Ordinance, about setbacks, impervious restrictions, all sorts of things. And I have to try and make sure that everything conforms to what it needs to be before I even submit it to the county. Once I do submit it, it could be a couple of weeks, it could be a month. It really depends on how many other projects are going into the county at the time. And then they'll take a look at it, send us back notes that we'll share with the client about, you can't do this, or they want something different. And, at the end of the day, you can do everything by the book, but if the county wants it changed, you got to do what they say.
I would think at that point that there's also something to the relationship that you have with county workers who are making these decisions and going through the paperwork, because you can be at the bottom of the list or you can be at the top of the list. Am I correct in that assumption?
Problem, the old days, correct.
Okay.
But today's, you do not
They
have
don't
it's
care.
already education with them. It's all uploaded into the system, and you wait for it to come back to you, all in the computer now.
Okay, so you can't even get on the phone and call and say, "Hey,
you
what's
could
this
do
tax of
yeah,
this?"
you could try.
And hey,
But it's,
do you like Dunkin' Donuts or?
yeah, it's,
Yeah,
I would say it's probably 3 to 4 months on a minor subdivision.
for the full start to finish
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
Okay. That takes a while. And if you're just a single person who's trying to subdivide one lot, does it speed it up or slow it down? You're on a list essentially.
Now,
They'll get to you when they get
a
to you.
major subdivision would be a little bit more where you're, making a full neighborhood. That would take more time, but the 3 to 4 months is what we're normally looking at for just a one lot into two lots.
And that's if there are no issues.
Yeah.
So, someone buys a piece of property, they're paying taxes on that. Time is money, and they want that to get done because they can't move forward until the lot's subdivided, if that's essentially what they're doing. Um,
And then the difference, like Iredell County, we could probably do it in 2 weeks.
oh, really? Okay. I mean, it's a volume.
It
game,
is.
right?
It's a bigger, Mecklenburg's much
A
bigger.
lot more going on in Mecklenburg.
Yeah. In terms of easements, do people request to get those taken off their property a lot?
Taken off, not usually. Sometimes there's access easement where they don't want the neighbor to
Walking through their
be able to
yeah.
go through their lot, but normally those are there for a reason.
If it's a utility easement, I would think there's not a whole lot
Those
you
are
can do.
hard to remove because it's a public utility.
Right.
easement.
It's necessary.
It's usually not their say to move it.
Mm.
Sometimes the HOA can make the decision, or just, you have to go back to the city or go back to NCDOT. You know, if it's storm drain or something, they're hard to remove. Now, we get more requests to add easements than we do probably to remove easements.
Okay.
Like if the neighbor's fence is over, we do fence easements. Instead of moving the fence, just grant them an easement to allow the fence to stay.
You have to be good friends with your neighbors to
Driveway.
get them to allow that.
Yeah.
And the driveways, we probably see a lot of driveway easements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's over 2 or 3 feet, we might do an easement, and the neighbor allows
Versus
it to
breaking
stay
up
there.
the entire driveway just to, yeah. But again, that's probably, you'd have to have a good relationship with your neighbor for them to allow that, because that's not essentially going to be taken off your property.
Yeah, you're still paying the taxes on that land. They just get to use it.
Mhm.
So, you do have to see it from both sides on that end.
I want to kind of put you guys on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the craziest situation you've worked with or dealt with in your line of business?
I mean, he's been doing it a bit longer than I have. I mean, we get the cops called on our crews a lot.
Why are they out here?
Yeah, neighbors.
Do you use drones?
We don't
Okay.
currently. A lot of that is for LiDAR work and bigger projects. We
Okay.
do a lot more residential, the fence stuff.
People don't like
boundaries.
drones. That's why I asked.
Oh, yeah, no.
Why is this drone over my
Well, they also don't like people on what they assume is their property. So we had a crew out actually just a few weeks ago who the neighbor's driveway, funny enough, was completely over the property line, not a portion of it, the entire thing. It was gravel, not concrete, so it's easy to move.
Mhm.
But while we were surveying it and staking line for our client, the owner came out very aggressively, and so we had to get the cops involved to mediate the situation.
And that's not pleasant. Hopefully it didn't happen on a Monday.
No, it
happened
over the course of a few days. So
Billy, anything crazy?
So on mine, probably something that everybody can relate to. We had a person call and say that my measurement was off like a foot.
Mhm.
And I said, well, we'll come back out tomorrow and check it. So we went back out and everything was perfect, and go back and the owner called back and said, no, you're still off a foot. And I'm like, well, what are you basing your information off of? Well, I said, well, I had a 100-foot drop cord and it doesn't measure 100 foot. So he was trying to make me change the survey over a drop cord instead of something measuring.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, that was
My bad. You're the expert, not me. Well, thank you so much for coming on Turnkey. I feel like I have a better understanding of surveys and kind of what goes into it and how many hours you guys dedicate to that. So thank you for, making everything better for us homeowners, and would love to have you on again sometime.
thanks for having us.
Thank you so much to all of you out there who have watched Turnkey. We will see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.